development. So our focus and our research is actually focusing on the HR development and also a bit of a psychology. Okay, so I will share, okay, whatever the best that I have, okay, and whatever that I've already learned in UTM. Okay, and I will share the knowledge with you guys. So within I think within 1.5 hour your class, so maybe I can share now. So let me start. So reviewing a literature. So what you need to do is that what has been established, okay, accepted in your field. So you are reviewing a literature, you are looking at the journals, okay, you are looking at the journals, you are looking at the publication. So the journals and the publication and the area and topic that you are looking is actually already been established, that already been accepted. So you are reviewing the documents, the articles, okay. So the articles and the documents that you are reviewing is actually in the area of your interest. Okay, and then the area of controversy, conflicts between two school of thoughts. Other than that, you do a lot of reading. You do a literature review is actually for you to understand is the controversy, the issue, the different school of thoughts. Okay, different perspective about the area. Okay, so we, for example, we have Maslow theory. Okay, some researcher they say Maslow is not good, it's not relevant anymore. But some researcher they say that Maslow is very relevant until today. Okay, so those controversy will become the area, okay, the area or the area of your reading, right? And then the problem or issues that remain unsolved. So we have a lot of issues. Okay, we have a lot of issues. So that issues is keep on popping. Okay, in the news. Okay, in the literature. So that issues you want to look at. Okay, you try to unsolve it. And then you do a literature review because you want to look at the trend. Okay, what is the current trend? What is the approaches? Okay, what is the current approaches in the area of your research? Okay, so for example, in marketing, what is the approaches in today's marketing area? Maybe a green marketing, or maybe a green marketing, or a green logistics. So a new approaches or a trend. Okay, so you have to pick. Okay, you have to pick in what area that you want to do your research. Okay, so once you know your area, and then we try to focus. So thesis, generally thesis, okay, your final year project, okay, is you are trying to do a comprehensive research, okay, which is the details of only one scope, okay, only one scope of the area. For example, we choose in HRM, human resource management, okay, human resource management, we have HR practices. Okay, so you choose which HR practices that you want to focus. So you go deep into that. Okay, you go deep. You have to do writing the breadth and depth of that area that you have chose. Okay, and another that is reviewing a literature. You need to study, okay, the history of the problem. Okay, for example, history of employee motivation. If you study on employee motivation, maybe the history of employee motivation is different. It's different through the various of through the trend. Okay, through our industrial revolution. Okay, the motivation is actually changing. Okay, according to industrial revolution. Okay, you look at the industrial revolution one, what is the purpose of employee go to work? And then industrial revolution two, okay, and three and four, now we are towards employee towards digitalization. So what is the motivation in nowadays organization or at the workplace? Okay, we are looking at the motivation. So what is the history of employee motivation, okay, throughout the industrial revolution? So what is the differences? So you want to study, like I said, literature review. Okay, your thesis is actually you are the master of that area, you are the master of your thesis, so you need to study the breadth and depth of your research. Okay, and then you have the research problem. So what is the limitation of your research problem? So what are the things that we or the past researcher didn't cover, okay, didn't look into the problem, okay? And then you do a literature review or reviewing literature. You do a lot of reading in order for you to justify what is your problem of your research, okay? You look at the problem of your research. And of course, you do a literature review to avoid the unintended duplication. You don't want to do the same thing with past researcher. Some say that you can take other research, but just in a different context, meaning that if this research they were doing it at a Western country, but you take the same concept, the same method and everything, but you do this in Malaysia. Okay, that one is not a duplication, but that one is more like we try to proliferate the research area, meaning that you still have there are still the difference between your research and uh, the previous research, because you do it at a different context. Okay, to avoid the unintended duplication, meaning that uh, exactly, okay, this research, you take this research, this one this research was done in Malaysia, and then you also do it the same thing, okay, in Malaysia and everything, okay, the methods, okay, the variables are all the same. So what is the purpose of doing a research, right? So you do a literature review to avoid the unintended duplication. So again, the motivation, okay, you do a research because you try to solve the problems, or you try to uncover the unresolved issue, okay, you try to discover something in the area, right? So if there is a duplication, so what is the purpose of doing a research, right? So you do a literature review in order for you to avoid the unintended duplication. And next is organizing your literature review. So how are you going to organize your literature review? So how are you going to write? Okay, but before you write, you need to understand the whole concept. You need to understand the history of your research. Okay, the variables of your studies. Okay, what kind of variables that actually involve in the area of your research. So you try to search and begin with a recent study of the area or the variables that you've already picked or try, or the area that you try to study. Okay, and then next thing, okay, you don't read the whole journals. Okay, you don't read the whole journals, but what you do is that you read the abstract first. Okay, you read the abstract. So when you are reading the abstract, actually you are reading the objective, okay, the methodology, and then the limitation, and also some of the abstract of the journals, they will provide you a results of the study. That's why all of your lecturers recommend you to find the journals that are actually that you can find in your library, okay, using the easy proxy, okay, easy proxy, and from that you can find all the database that a very credible database such as EBSCOhost or Scopus, right? ProQuest. So those are a credible database that you can use as a reference of your research. So by reading the abstract, it will save you a lot of time. Okay, instead of you read one journals without understanding the whole elements of that journal. So you read the abstract, and then you will know whether these journals is actually going to help you to write your literature or not. Okay, so you read the abstract to check the relevancy of your study. Okay, and reading the abstract, also from that abstract you can also notice that the difference or the types of journals, okay, the differences of the journal or the types of journal. Okay, some of the journals it is provide you empirical research. Some of the journals is actually a conceptual paper, and some of the journals they just provide you there is a qualitative study. Okay, from that journal, from that abstract, you can identify this journal it is actually empirical or a conceptual paper. Okay, and then you identify which part need a direct quotation from the author. Okay, so from the abstract, you know the study. Okay, the study that this author done, and then you know the area of the research, and from that abstract you know the author that you need to cite it, which is the original author. Okay, the finding of uh, uh, the research that you found in the abstract is the one that you can cite. Okay, the original author. But when you are reading the article, okay, authors of the journal sometimes they cite other authors. Okay, sometimes they cite other authors, so you cannot claim that statement. Okay, that statement that being cited by this author. What you need to do is that you have to look at the bibliography, the reference. You have to look at the original author, then you have to read the journals from the original author, because sometimes authors, okay, they have a different perceptions, and they kind of try to translate the meaning that they've gained from other journals differently. So the best is that you take the original paper and you read and you try to understand and you cite that author. Okay, don't cite on top of other paper, on top of the other author. Okay, don't do that. And then answering the so what questions for every claim. Okay, so you do a literature review is that you try you try to convince the examiners, or you try to convince the reader, okay, the reader of your thesis, that these are actually very important. Okay, that these actually very important, and to do that, the paragraph of your uh, chapter 2, in every of your writing in chapter 2, need to answer the so what questions. Okay, later I will show you what is the so what questions. Okay,
Doktor,
okay, yeah.
doktor, saya rasa doktor tak gerak lah.
Saya tak bergerak.
Dari tadi pesan tu.
Dia satu sekejap saya tak bergerak. How about if I share with you my entire screen and let's see gerak ke tidak. Okay, boleh nampak tak? Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can see your slide.
Okay. This one, organizing literature review. Kan? Okay, already there.
Boleh bergerak dah.
Okay, dah gerak dah. Alright. Next. So the purpose of literature review again. Okay. So once you know the topic, again, you try to you review a literature. Okay, you do a reading because you want to demonstrate a familiarity with the topic. Okay, you are the master of the topic. So when the examiner asks you, so you know everything, every inch of this area. So you can provide the answer, what is happening if these variables go to this, what is happening, what is the history of these variables. Okay, so you are the master of your research. So again, you do a literature review to demonstrate your familiarity with the topic. And also, other than that, is that you want to position yourself in relation to other researcher. So you are the master of this research. So you want to position yourself also with other researcher in the same area. Okay, so you want to look at in this area you are actually in the same line, okay, in the same line with their research, okay. Even though you have a different school of thought or different perceptions about this area, but you want to position yourself with other researcher in the area of your research, okay, in the same area with other researcher, okay. And then you want to show how your research fits in, okay. You do a literature review because you have your idea of your research and you want to compare whether your idea is it going to fit in with the area of your research, okay. Because you have your own idea. I think I want to do this. I want to look at this one, maybe HR and also in finance. So you want to look at whether your research relevant with the area of this topic or not, right? And reviewing a literature is a connecting the dot, okay. This is actually very important because you review a literature, okay. You take look at the journals, you look at the journals and you write, okay. You try to summarize, okay. So everything you've been cited, but if everything being cited, so what is your contribution? So what happened to your thoughts, okay? What are the things that you try to deliver here, okay? So the things that you want to deliver, you want the readers or the examiner to notice is that how you connect the dots, from journal A, journal B, journal C. So how you do the connection between all the journals. That is your contributions in doing a literature review. Okay, literature review is not just you do a summarize and you cited everything that being stated in the previous research. Yes, you do that, summarize, okay, and also you analyze and synthesize. But the important thing is that you try to connect the dot. Okay, so when you do the connection, okay, you try to connect the dot from journal A, journal B, and journal C, you make a conclusion, meaning that that is your thought, that is your idea, okay? So not just try everything that you stated, you cite. So what is your contribution? What is your thought? So if everything that you do, you cite other people, so what actually is your idea? Right. So your idea here is actually you try to connect the dot. So by connecting the dot is actually you actually try to highlight, okay, try to highlight the area or the gap that not being studied before, okay. So this is, okay, summarizing, and then you analyzing, and then you synthesize, okay. So you summarize, picking out the major points or ideas and restating them in a succinct way, okay. You summarize, okay, journal A, journal B, journal C all said that these variables will influence to or give will effect towards your DV. Okay, you summarize and then you put a citation. And then you try to analyze. Okay, analyze meaning that you mentally divide it into its part. Okay, such as main claim, is there any subclaim or audience? Okay, you look for any relationship that might be among the various parts. So from journal A, B, and C, so what is the relationship that you can make a conclusion? Okay, you analyze it. And then you synthesize, you try to articulate the ways in which sources are related, meaning that you try to comparing the ideas. Okay, you comparing the ideas, maybe there will be a similarities or a differences. Okay, you synthesize it. Okay, so this is how you do critical literature review. Okay, when you summarize, you analyze and synthesize, this is actually will lead you to a so what question. Okay, you take journal A, you summarize, and then you analyze it. Okay, making a what is the relationship between these journals, and then you synthesize, comparing the differences or the similarity. Okay, so what? Okay, so what? So when try to answering the so what question, okay, so this is the example. okay, this is the example. Okay, the top part is the statement. Okay, the changes that occur in the wake of World War One were manifested in many aspects of American life. So you give a statement, right? So what? Okay, so this statement. So what? So even if the reader doesn't already know this, the statement still isn't a significant assertion about the historical data. So it is merely a vague observation and makes no analytical claims at all. So kat sini there is no analyzing. There is no analyzing, right? So this thesis need to be more specific. Okay. So things that you need to be more specific. Okay. So statement again here, being upgraded. Okay, so the changes that occur in the wake of World War One were manifested in many aspects of American life, from questioning old beliefs to roles in society, like causing an open split between old and new. So they give a specific, but still, okay, still, it doesn't answering the so what question. Okay, it doesn't answer it doesn't it does not answer the so what question. Okay, so need to address it, right? They need to address this statement is better, improve, but does not answer the so what question. Okay, now in the wake of World War One, attention, okay, over changing social ideologies and roles were manifested in political demonstration that reflected the growing sense of fear and uncertainty about the society's new direction that would continue on well into 20th century. So the so what question is that in every statement you need to give a reason, okay, a reason. So the reason here in changing social ideologies and roles and the political demonstration that reflected the growing sense of fear and uncertainty. So in every statement, if the supervisor or the examiner asking you, okay, you give the statement, so what? So what? So if the question being raised by the examiner or supervisor, meaning that your thesis or your paragraph did not provide a reasons or a reason why this statement is very important. So you need to provide a reason that is a significant why variable YIV towards DV is very important. Okay, you need to provide a reason, a justification. Okay, so normally in thesis, the word is the job. Okay, for example, innovative culture will influence on employee engagement, and this is and you put a citation and the last part, okay, the last part of your paragraph, I mean the last statement of your paragraph, you have to put therefore this will lead to what, this will lead to what, this will lead to increase in productivity of the company and everything. So the reason, you need to provide a reason why your IV influence on DV is very important to be studied. You have to provide a reason at the end of your sentences. Okay, always emphasize on that. Okay, so how to start? Okay, so how to start reviewing your literature? So define your topic first. You define your topic, and you develop your research problem and a research question. Okay, and then you come up with a relevant keyword and then you start the search in Easy Proxy. So if you in the HR, if you are looking at the HR area, okay, so HR we have so many function. We have HRM practices. Okay, you go down a bit and you want to look at what? Career development. Okay, and in the area of career development, what do you want to look at? Maybe the employee engagement. Okay, so you go down, and then after you go down, you try to develop your research problem. Okay, so research problem, normally we in chapter 1 research problem. Okay, in a research or issue you need to highlight the problem that you found in literature, okay, in literature. What is the lack or gap in the literature? Despite of finding the issues, okay, despite of providing the statistic that happening in managerial area, okay, and then you come up with the relevant keyword, use that keyword, and then you start the search, okay. So from easy proxy, okay, easy proxy library UDMap, and then you go read the abstract, and then you look for the recurring citation. If the recurring citation shows that this author is very good or very credible in this area of research, so maybe what you can do is that you go find this original author, okay, that most have the most citation in this area of research. You find that you go and search for that journals, okay, because a lot of people, a lot of researcher uh, have been referring to these journals. So you have to look at that journal as well. Maybe, right? Maybe you can find some ideas, okay, on where your research is going to be. And then, so that's about generals, okay. So in literature also, in the history part, like I told you, when you understand the area, you need to look at the history, okay, the trend. So you provide a brief of history of empirical research on the subject. Okay, what is the pioneering study? What is the prior research? Okay, which issue have received a lot of attention, and theories explored, and the viewpoint expressed in this area, in this variable. You have to choose, right? And then you look at the what are the potentials, okay, what are the potentials factors, potential factors for independent variables, so dependent variables or the intervening variables. Okay, so we in here also in UTM also we have different, okay, we have a different school of thought as well. Okay, some of the researcher in UTM, they said we focus on what we want to focus. Okay, but some of the researcher here in UTM, they said we should focus on dependent variables. Okay, we should focus on the dependent variables because this variable is actually depend on the other factor. So if changes of the other factor, it will change the state of this dependent variable. Okay, so some of researcher, they will start reviewing literature with independent variable. Okay, some researcher, they will start reviewing a literature with dependent variables. So in a UTM, we have two different school of thought, and yet we accept. Okay, so we accept both kind of school of thought, but then at the end, at the end, we look at on the whole process of doing a research or a thesis, whether they have the alignment or not. Okay, the arrangement to highlight which one IV or DV, that one is just an arrangement, but the fundamentals of doing a research is still the same. Okay, so this is what in research, okay, in research we still having a lot of argument, okay, but it depends, okay, as long as the fundamentals of doing a research, we have IV, we have DV, and the direction is the same. If direction is not the peculiar one, then it's okay. Okay, so you do the chronology, the time, the history, and then you try to do a team. Okay, you try to make a team. So what from your reading, what themes that you can find in the journals, and then maybe you look at the methodology, and then the different methodology that been used in the study. Journal A use cyber technique. Journal B use PLS or software, and then Journal C use AMOS. So a different kind, okay, a different kind of technique or area, right? And then what is the theoretical approach? Okay, maybe Journal A, the area of study is employee engagement, but Journal A use a theory of job demand resource, but Journal B use theory of self-regulation, and Journal C use a theory of Herzberg two-factor theory. Okay, so this actually that you try to synthesize and also analyze. Okay. Now, note to yourself that when you read the journals, so you reading more than 10, more than 20, okay, more than 50, maybe 100, okay, so you read everything, okay, you read everything, but not everything is important. Not everything that you've read have to be included in your journals, have to be included in your thesis in chapter 2. Okay, you read everything just to make sure that you've already mastered in the area, you've already know about this variable, but not to put everything, okay, not to put everything in your thesis. Okay, just reading, okay, when you reading lot, okay, when you reading many journals in the area of your research, it is good, okay, so that you know actually what is actually important and what actually is not important. Okay, by doing that, you know what is the directions of your research, and you can make your scope smaller. Okay, and then look at the gap or area that is research are lacking. And so how you look at this one. Okay, synthesizing. Okay, you synthesizing meaning that you comparing A, B, and C. So what is still missing? Okay, between these three journals. Okay, so you focus on that. So that would be the area or a trigger or a motivation for you to do a research, right? So a research again is for you to try to solve, try to propose or provide a solution. You try to discover something, right? So what is the point of doing a research if you duplicate other people research, right? So you need, what is the unique of your research? Okay, what's the point of doing this research? Okay, the systematic LR, we have maybe this will help you. Okay, if you put in a table, okay, that can help you to get some idea. Okay, what is the most recurring variables that being used in this area of research? So maybe that, and then you look at the gap. Okay, you look at what is still lacking in this area. Okay, so the gap that you need to look, maybe in the theory, you can take other theory, you can use other theory from the psychological field, maybe you can use a theory from the marketing to use in the area of your research. Okay, maybe the location, like I said, the context, okay, the different, the gap. Most of the study has been done in a Western country, but not in Asian. You can use that, but that would be there's still a limitation. Okay, and then you look at the methods. Okay, methods, how a previous research conduct in this area. Okay, some of the area of the research that has not that is not popular. Maybe after the pandemic, that variable uh, can be used right now. Okay, we can use the variables right now. For example, motivation and Maslow theory. Okay, previously before the pandemic, Maslow is not the one, is not very popular because some of the researchers say that Maslow is not relevant anymore in today's century. But now, because of the pandemic, a lot of people have been retrenched. A lot of people is actually trying to survive. Okay, their daily life. Okay, finding a job and everything. Okay, so the security come again, right? So the security concern come again. So again, Maslow theory become popular. Okay, become a basic of today's research. Okay, so the trend, that's why you need to do a lot of reading. Okay, you have to do a lot of reading to understand the trend. The trend is very important. Okay, and we have theory, and underpinning theory is the one that going to explain the whole phenomena of your relationship. Okay, the whole phenomena of the variables from IV towards the DV. Okay, this theory is actually try to support your study, try to support your study, meaning that your research, you have a basis from this theory, right? And maybe you can find some of the gap. Okay, maybe some of the theory they cannot explain the whole process of your framework, right? Some of the theory they cannot explain the whole process of your framework. Okay, so maybe there is the gap of your research, theoretical gap. And again, literature review is not a copy and paste job. Copy and paste job meaning that, okay, journal A, B, C said this, and then you summarize, and that's it. No, you need to provide your idea as well. Your idea comes from the connection that you create. Okay, the link that you give from journal A, B, and C. Okay, you provide a link and connection. That is your idea. Okay, that is your idea. Okay, so this some of the examples. Okay, example. So in writing a paragraph and making your statement or your paragraph, uh, the arrangements of your paragraph, right? So a topic. So the first paragraph you need to highlight on the topic. Okay, so the main point. What is the main point of this sentence or this paragraph? Okay, so the current trend on cyber espionage. So this one we highlight on the cyber espionage is the most developed and developing country bring major catastrophic damages to national security. So the issue of cyber espionage requires attention. This is the main topic. Okay, it requires attention, especially among public officer, as they are the one that hold up most of the government's top secret and information. So, and then you go, what's the issue? Okay, why? What is the issue to support the topic? So the issue of espionage requires attention, especially in this time in which people from all levels of technological knowledge are forced to use technologies during the pandemic. So this is the issue why you want to study cyber espionage. So due to that, people are becoming naive and ignorant about data secrecy, especially when not to share the information. So this is issue. So you support the topic. Okay, you support the topic. And then next, you go to critical evaluation. What is the weakness? Weakness that you can find from the previous journals. So in addition, all countries in the world are facing the same threat because to penalize cyber espionage is difficult due to supremacy of state sovereignty. And to date, there is no specific legislation to govern cyber espionage in Malaysia. So this is the weaknesses that you can find from the previous journals. And then, is there any theory? Theory for more recent or theoretical perspective. Okay, the pandemic of COVID-19 has set the world to heighten the usage of technologies instantly. So the recent perspective of these issues, okay, hence working from home has become a new medium for getting the job done. So which may lead to unintended cyber espionage that may damages the organization. So a recent, okay, theoretical perspective. And then you synthesize it. Okay, so synthesize the several empirical research. So several empirical studies on cyber espionage. So you stated you find the previous journal A, B, and C. Now, and then across this study, so you found what you make a comparison, right? There are consistent evidence saying what and what. Okay, so last one, the gap or the conclusion. So there is a lack of robust research, okay, in this area, hence require more attention to this these days. Okay, so this is how you try to highlight. Okay, same goes when you want to do explanation in chapter 2. Okay, so what is the topic, what is the issue to support, what is the critical evaluation, the theory, and then you synthesize the previous research, and then you make a make a gap, or you make a conclusion. Okay, you make a conclusion. The last part, make a gap, make a conclusion, or you try to answer the so what question. Okay, you try to answer the so what question. Right. So in literature, apart from reading, okay, apart from you do the arrangements of the statement, okay, arrangements of the paragraph and how to write. Another thing that is important is that you need to look at the citation, okay, the citation. Okay, so citation. for example, how to write a citation normally. Okay, this is example. Okay, example. First, employee engagement is important towards organizational performance. So we have from this author, Saranova, and then author B said that the job satisfaction is important for employee performance. Macy, 2018. And we have another saying that organizational diversity will influence on employee performance. So we have here from 3 different journals saying that employee engagement is very important towards performance. And then a job satisfaction is very important towards employee performance. And then organizational diversity also influence on employee performance. So those 3 journals are saying the same thing. Okay, the dependent. Okay, they are saying that the employee engagement, job satisfaction, and organizational diversity will influence on performance. The same thing here is the performance can be affected by these variables. So how you try to do a citation? Okay, so previous research showed that performance, okay, can be affected by employee engagement, job satisfaction, and organizational diversity. So this is how you do a citation. Okay. Now, when you read the journals, so you already read the journals. Don't just copy and paste. Okay, maybe you've read 2 or 3 journals, and then from that 2 or 3 journals, you make one sentence like this. Okay, then that one you will produce a good literature review. Okay, some of the students, okay, some of the student here also in UTM also, I found that they try to summarize one journals for about 2 or 3 paragraphs. Okay, we don't want that. Okay, we don't want that. Okay, you summarize what the authors have been said. No, the literature review is that you are actually summarizing from few journals. Okay, from a few journals, and then you make it in a sentence. Not you take one journal, you make it in a one paragraph. Okay, so please don't do that. So this type of citation, you do this 1, 2, and 3. Now, if more than 2 authors, okay. So in citation manner, if you have people more than 2 authors that you want to cite more, okay. So the first one, you type all the authors here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. The second one, you want to cite again in your literature, you just type at all like this. Okay, the first author and at all. Okay, so this is how you do a citation. Okay, citation is very important in literature because sometimes when the examiner read your articles or read your thesis, they will look at is it really this author saying this? Okay, so and then the examiners or the supervisor will look at the references. Okay. And this part of reviewing and also the literature citation is very important. So this is, I guess maybe you can have this session maybe mentally cite and write. Okay, so this is examples of how you do your citation. Maybe we have APA 6 edition. Now we have I think 7 edition. Okay, so this one is 6th edition. Okay, the author here, we have author and the year and a topic applying the ecosystem metaphor to entrepreneurship. This is the title of the thesis, and the antitrust bulletin is here. Okay, the journals and the volume and issue number 4, volume, issue, pages, and also the DOI number. So this is how you're going to put in the reference of your thesis. Right. So this, I hope that you guys have already seen this. I don't know whether the Unimap library e-resources have the same interface or not, but you have to look at the e-resources. From this, you can find the credible journals. Okay, you can have the credible journals. Okay, and from here we have a journals. Okay, and dissertation. Maybe you can look at dissertation in ProQuest. Okay, ProQuest dissertation here. So you refer to ProQuest dissertation. Maybe you can look on a master. Okay, master thesis, or I don't know whether master and PhD. Maybe you can refer. You can refer how actually research in thesis manner have been done. You can look at the way, the styles of writing literature. Okay, the styles of writing literature is very important. And then other than that, you can look at the scopus. Okay, for example, you want to look at the customer satisfaction. So you look at most recurring, okay, most recurring citation, and find the author, and you find the journals. And when you try to search the journals, find only the keyword of your study. So the keyword is the variables of your study. Okay, and you can have many journals, a lot of journals in Scopus, in EBSCOhost, and Emerald Green, Sage. Okay, that is all the very credible database that you can have it. And this is a ProQuest. Okay, customer satisfaction. Okay, so you can find the thesis actually. Okay, and this is a database on the Emerald Insight. So normally in Emerald, the journals that cover, I think in Emerald, more towards accounting, economic, okay, and financial. Okay, lot of journals on that area. If you want to study on educational, on learning, so you go for EBSCO hosts. Okay, if you want to study on sports, okay, sports psychology, you want to study on the area of behavior, then you go to Science Direct. Okay, so there's actually a journals that a database that they are focused into, but all of them they have, but uh, the area like a Science Direct, they focus on the psychology, sports, and everything. Okay. All right, so the structure, this one is depends. Okay, depends on your supervisor. Okay, some of the some of the researcher, they want to highlight the dependent variable first. Okay, but when I came here, at UTM, they want to highlight which one is actually your contribution. Okay, for example, I give you, there's a student actually, they highlight the independent variable first because they said that because she said that this is my contributions, and my supervisor said that this is the one that I should highlight more. Okay, they want to focus on the green human resource practices. So this is my contribution, so this is the one that I should highlight. And the examiner said that why don't you highlight on the dependent variables, the employee performance, right? Because the employee performance is actually uh, being influenced by this green human resource practices. So we have two different school of thought here, and yet we accept both. Okay, so whatever it is, the structure of your literature review in your thesis is just an arrangement. It's just an arrangement, but make sure that the fundamentals of doing a research, okay, is in the right way, is in the right path. Okay, so this is just an example. Maybe you can start with the dependent variables first by explaining the trend. Okay, the trend, the historical that happened with the DV, and then you can explain on factors that influence this DV, everything. Okay, you try to summarize, analyze, and synthesize, okay, for every of these variables. And then you try to answer the first one, IV to DV, meaning you try to highlight the relationship that uh, your IV to DV, is there any effect? So what is the importance of this IV to DV? You try to highlight that as well. And if you have a mediator or moderator, I know some of you maybe your supervisor asks you to add a mediator or moderator, maybe you can add, but you need to have some justification why you put a mediator in your study, why you put a moderator in your study. So a mediator, it is not advisable for you to use because in a research way, a mediator is actually a process, and it is actually more applicable if you uh, use longitudinal research design for mediator, okay, because a mediator is a process, so it is more appropriate if we use a longitudinal design. But you guys, FYP student, okay, I mean, a lot of research in a quantitative area, we use a cross-sectional design. So um, it would be a limitations of your study if you take a mediator, if you put a mediator in your framework in your study. Okay, and a moderator, you need to find a justification why you put a moderator. Is there any inconsistent finding of these variables? Okay, so justification is very important why you put this statement. Okay, justification meaning that you need to give a reason as well. So when we talk about theory, so this is Maslow theory. So Maslow theory is explained on the employee, the levels of needs, right? The levels of need, the safety, love, and esteem, and then uh, the job satisfaction is actually self-actualization, and then we have employee motivation. So if we fulfill the Maslow need, meaning that it will lead to employee motivation. So this is a theoretical framework. Okay, this is a theoretical framework, meaning that you want to study to test this theory. You want to look at these variables, whether what will be the answer. Okay, what will be the answer? You want to test the theory. Okay, but we have a conceptual framework. So this is theoretical framework, meaning that you take the theory and these variables is actually can explain in this theoretical framework. But what happened if you have other variables that be included in this theory? So that will become a conceptual framework. Okay, so conceptual framework is something that you take from the previous research, the variables, and you want to study the process. You want to take the argument. Okay, you want to make sure you want to make sure that this variable is actually important towards employee motivation. So this is a conceptual framework. Okay, it's different from theoretical framework. Theoretical framework, what theory said, and this will be your variables. Okay, not other than the framework of the theory. For the conceptual framework is the concept you take from others. It can be anything. Okay, it can be anything. You want to test. Okay, you want to provide argument for this. You want to test this variable, and you want to look at this variable is very important in employee motivation. Okay, so for theoretical framework is the process. For conceptual framework, you want to convince the people that this variable is very important towards the employee motivation. So you can have a theoretical framework or you can have a conceptual framework. Normally in literature review, we will provide the theoretical framework, okay? Because whatever it is, your thesis, you must have some sort of a theory, okay? Theory to explain the whole process of the phenomena. But some, okay, and then you will have a conceptual framework, meaning that this is your variables, okay, this is your variable, this is your concepts of your theory. Okay, all right, so I think that's it for today, 1 hour session. I think the rest we can have a Q&A, is it?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Dr. Irza, for a very good explanation. I think it is very clear, and then I hope that you guys can gain much knowledge today. And I hope that it's not going to be more difficult anymore for all of you to complete your chapter 2, which is about literature review. So now I'm going to open question and answer questions from from the floor, from the students. So if you have any questions, you can ask the speaker, Dr. Irza. So any question from the floor? Any question, please make sure that you ask, at least you have to ask questions, because I don't want after this you ask me a lot of questions and you also ask a lot of questions to your supervisors. This is actually your chance, if you're not clear, maybe you can ask the speaker. The speaker we have invited, specially for all of you. Okay, so Nur Azizatul Asma, she has a question. So Nur Azizatul, can you ask the question?
Assalamualaikum, Madam.
Salam.
Madam, I want to ask, before this, you did explain something about how to write, right? So, I want to point out the number 6, how to write to get or conclusion. So, I don't really get what the meaning of gap in this how to write literature review. What is the gap?
What is the gap? Okay, in literature, okay, dalam literature kita kena cari kekurangan. Apa yang kekurangan yang boleh kita dapati daripada pembacaan jurnal artikel daripada jurnal A, jurnal B dan jurnal C. So, make sure jurnal A, B dan C itu adalah study yang sama. For example, study yang you nak lihat adalah employee engagement. Okay. Dalam study employee engagement ni, jurnal A ni kata employee engagement ni memberi impact kepada organizational performance. Okay. And then jurnal B ni kata employee engagement ni sangat dipengaruhi oleh faktor manager ataupun supervisor. Okay, and then employee engagement ni juga dia dipengaruhi oleh rakan sekerja. Okay, so kebanyakan jurnal yang you baca dia berkisarkan yang 3 tu. Okay, so what is the gap actually? Kalau kita lihat dalam teori employee engagement, sebab tu saya kata kena ada teori. You kena lihat teori itu kata apa. So dalam teori kita lihat employee engagement ni adalah the meaning itself adalah apa? Personal resource, okay? Dalam diri kita sendiri, personal resource. Tetapi dalam pembacaan kita tak jumpa pun journal ataupun previous author ataupun kurang, bukan tak jumpa, ataupun kurang previous research kata employee engagement ni untuk melihat dari segi psychologicalnya, okay, dari segi kognitif, affective dan behavior employee itu sendiri. Contoh, itu adalah kekurangan lah yang kita boleh lihat. So kekurangan apa? So kalau once kita dah highlight kekurangan, that is the gap. Now kenapa you buat conclusion? Conclusion tu you kena provide the reason kenapa employee engagement ni sangat penting. Kenapa? Sebab at the end kalau kita tak kaji employee engagement ni, apa akan terjadi? What is the impact dia? So you kena provide reason kenapa. Kenapa itu penting untuk menjawab kepada gap dan juga untuk menutup you punya setiap paragraf tu, bukan tergantung.
Oh, so gap tu macam kita tambah kekurangan daripada penulisan kita tu, masukkan dalam conclusion.
Masukkan dalam conclusion lah, dan kena ada reason itu sangat penting. A reason why this, kenapa gap ni yang you nak highlight. Sebab akhirnya dia akan memberi kesan kepada apa.
Gap tu kena letak banyak ke macam mana?
Okay, kalau untuk FYP punya level kita tanya koordinator, banyak ke sikit?
Okay.
Okay, untuk FYP kita tak perlu tekankan sangat. Maksud dia kita tak terlalu banyak sangat lah. Kita sikit-sikit saja untuk final project degree punya, sebab you guys pun ada subjek-subjek lain kan, dan ini adalah degree level sahaja. Mungkin gap tu hanyalah fokus kepada negara, orang lain tak pernah buat lagi dekat Malaysia, ataupun orang lain tak pernah lagi buat dekat UNIMED. Itu pun dah cukup lah untuk level degree.
Okay, the important thing
Okay,
is
thank
that
you, madam. Thank you, sir.
you kena faham untuk buat research itu macam mana, untuk buat penulisan itu macam mana. Sebab kalau ada intention untuk sambung ke master atau PhD, senanglah. Okay, supervisor pun tak pening kepala kan. Sebab you dah tahu dah penulisan tu macam mana, kaedah nak tulis macam mana. Dia lebih senang macam ni. You nak tulis literature, you want to write a literature, you bayangkan macam you menulis novel. Novel tu ada kesinambungan kan? Ada kesinambungan. There is, okay, you baca novel, ada kesinambungan. Macam tu lah, okay. Bukannya bila baca thesis, sama ada thesis ataupun chapter tu bila kita baca, okay, paragraf 1, variable 1. Terus melompat paragraf 2, variable nombor 2. Tidak ada kesinambungan di situ. So you need to provide a continuation of your writing is very important. Bila orang baca ni macam baca novel. So biasanya dalam literature tu, bila you nak buat kupasan terhadap sesuatu variable ataupun topik area tu, you bayangkanlah macam rumah. Kita nak buat rumah, kita ada apa? Kan? Kita ada pillars, kita ada atap, kita ada ground, dan kita ada tingkap, kan? So you lihat kepada semua sudut supaya bila orang baca tu orang jelas nampak you nak menceritakan apa sebenarnya. So literature review ni you kena macam novel lah, macam tulis novel, ada kesinambungan, orang faham what are you trying to say actually. Okay.
Okay, any more question? Please ask questions now rather than ask later.
Rather than ask your coordinator. Don't ask your coordinator at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yes. That's right. They always ask me at night sometimes.
I
Okay,
know your
please.
coordinator single. Don't ask him at 2 a.m.
Hi, madam. I have a questions to ask.
Okay.
According to the rubric given for FYP, I figure out that in literature we need to write empirical studies. And may I know what is about that?
The empirical study, okay, you need to provide, when you read the journals, okay, the journals, we have types of journal. Kita ada dalam journals, we have types of journal. Empirical research, okay, journal tu berkisarkan empirical. And then ada journals yang menceritakan conceptual saja, konsep saja. Okay, ada journal menceritakan berkenaan dengan teori saja. So, the difference of the journal. So kalau dalam rubrik you kata menceritakan empirical. Okay, empirical meaning that you need to provide evidence or the past research. You need to cite evidence or the past research saying that, okay, for example, employee engagement show 28% increase in employee performance, for example like that. Okay, ada datanya, empirical, ada data study menunjukkan. Okay, this area is very important. This area is needed. Okay, buktinya daripada empirical research. Data menunjukkan, previous research menunjukkan there is a significant relationship between job satisfaction and employee engagement. Itu adalah dia punya empirical. Ada data, ada bukti, ada study from the previous research itu.
Alright, thank you, madam.
Okay.
Okay, any more question?
Madam,
Yeah.
boleh saya tahu pasal teori? Actually, setiap jurnal dia ada provide teori ke ataupun kita kena cari sendiri?
Okay, setiap journal kadang-kadang dia ada provide theory, but most of the journals that you cari dalam the credible platform yang saya kata lah, EBSCO, Scopus kan, kalau dia tak sebut pun teori tu dia ada asas, okay, based on what? Okay, selalunya dalam journals biasanya the credible one dia akan ada asas, akan ada teori yang dia sebutkan. Okay, but the rest of the work, okay, the rest of the work in figuring out whether what theory you need to use in your study, you kena buat banyak pembacaan lah, okay. Sometimes bukan saja daripada journals, sometimes you boleh refer juga dalam buku teori apa yang bersesuaian, sebab you have learned organizational behavior, and from the organizational behavior you have learned a lot of theories, okay, lot of motivation theories. So daripada situ you boleh tahu, okay, dalam untuk you pilih teori, bukan saja daripada journal saja, you boleh cari daripada buku pun boleh, sebab teori is a classical document or classical review, okay. So bila berkenaan dengan teori, dokumennya boleh jadi buku atau apa, sebab dia adalah klasik, okay, klasik, benda yang lama. So the citation itu you boleh ambil daripada original one, okay. Tapi kalau teori memang you ambil daripada original, but you have to provide the trend. Trend tu yang penting. Trend tu. Okay, daripada apa? Kalau employee engagement ni, kalau kita lihat trendnya daripada Khan 1990, and then now we have Baker, Shafali and Demeriti. So and then Salanova. So all of the trend yang kita kena tahulah. So kita lihat teori apa yang diorang pakai. Right? So most dalam journals biasa akan sebut teori apa yang dia gunakan, okay. And some of the journals dia even the daripada building the build up a theory actually, okay. So job demand resource, before this it is actually a concept. Now we have called it job demand resource theory. Before this it's just a concept, but I think after a while, because most of the people has a test, the framework, now it becomes a theory, okay. Job demand resource theory. So teori you boleh cari dalam journals, memang ada, biasanya akan ada.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, welcome. Okay.
Okay, I think we are running out of time. So I would like to say a very a profuse thanks to Dr. Irza for her willingness to share her ideas and her knowledge about how to write literature review. I think it is very useful and it is very beneficial to all of you. And I hope that you guys can start writing your literature review after this. And then I hope that you have no more difficulties or problems with literature review. And then if you have more questions, maybe you can refer to your supervisor. Okay, so I think that's all for today. We have finished already our session today. And then I would like to say thank you to Dr. Irza. And then I hope you guys can say also thank you to Dr. Irza for her time, spent for all of you. Okay, say thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Irza.
Thank you, Dr. Irza.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Welcome.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, you're welcome.